Hey, good afternoon. We'll go ahead and give it a few minutes for everybody to join. So we'll plan to get started 2 minutes. So we'll go ahead and get started at about 1:02. All right, good afternoon. It is 2 after, so we will go ahead and get started. Thank you guys all for being here. Today's demo is going to be on how to apply for trade permits within our new Software Plus. So we're going to go through a few different stages. We're going to go through a few different types of trade permits that we will be applying for. For those that don't know me, my name is Nicole McMahon. I'm one of the permit supervisors within the Permit Application Center of Fairfax County. And I said, we'll go ahead and jump right into Plus. We're excited about it. Hope you guys are too. So first, everybody should hopefully be seeing my screen. It should look like Fairfax County up top, login information. If I could get somebody to confirm in the chat that you guys are seeing that for me. Perfect. Thank you guys. All right. So a couple things just notice right off the top, if you haven't been to any of the demos yet, is to notice that the kind of landing page of Plus is going to bring you directly into the option to log in. So no more with Fido having to click apply for a permit before you get prompted to sign in. You'll have that ability right away. Right up here is where you'll register for an account. I'm not going to go through the steps of how to register for an account. What I am going to say is that you will be receiving an email with very specific instructions on how to successfully create an account in order to ensure all of your previous Fido records come over. Please be sure that you follow those steps. For those on the call that already have a Plus account because they were operating in it for previous releases, that's okay. but please follow the steps that are going to be emailed. So again, not going to go over that because I just want to make sure that we're encouraging you guys to read through that entire email that you receive and follow those steps as they're laid out. So I'm going to jump right in, assuming you guys had created your account. We'll come right in here and we will sign in. And Plus is going to naturally bring you to what's called the dashboard. So a couple cool quick hit things that you'll be able to see right away. One is your work in progress. So if you begin an application, but you had to step away for some reason in the middle of it and you didn't get to the completed stage, you are able to save and continue later. Those works in progress will be listed here. You'll see that it has a temporary record number, and then you'll have the ability to click this link and resume that application from where you left off. So these stay here. Forget exactly how long. I think it's 30 days. If there's no action on it, they'll clear out. But this is where you would come if you had to step away for, a day and come back to it later on. The cart information here, this has the ability that you could go through records and add them to your cart so that then when you're ready, you could pay for a group of records all at the same time. So if you had things in here, they would show, you could view your cart and then you could choose to pay all of those. And then the My Collections. I think this is a pretty cool feature of Plus. I hope you guys will find the value in it too. Best way I can explain it is kind of like that manila folder that we all have for our jobs, right? You put on the tab the last name of the client or the address, however you identify your work orders. And this allows you the ability to combine all of those records into one location so that you can see that. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into, say, view collections. So let's just say that we're applying for a pool permit and it's at the Smith job, and that's how we've identified this. We could click on the Smith job, and then we would be able to see both the pool permit itself and any associated trade permits with that. And you can add things as needed. You would just simply be able to link more. I'll show you guys how to do that a little later on in the demo. Here's just another one that we have. So the Jones, this one shows that not only is it an ability to link building related records, you can also link things across different modules. So if you're working on something that perhaps a restaurant and you have to have a building permit, you're also going to have a health record, you're going to end up with mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all of those things. You could combine all of those so you had it in this kind of quick snapshot view and the ability to easily access each record type. So again, I think that's something cool. I think it'd be very beneficial. You have the ability to delete them as the jobs, don't need to be as prevalent for you. You could delete it, and you can also choose to not use it if you don't want to. You just simply go to My Records here. And then you have the ability to see all of the records that you've applied for. You'll be able to look at pieces of the information. So the date of submitted, you'll have the record number, the record type, address, and then you also have a quick information for status and the pages to go through. If you apply for different records through different modules, you would just simply open those up. You can have them both open at the same time. But again, My Records lets you see everything that you've applied for across all of these different module types. Is what we should know through all of the communications is one reason that we've moved to Plus is to help combine all of those legacy systems that we were all operating out of independently. So by doing that, you'll have access to see everything here. You won't have to navigate through several different platforms. So really excited about this, and we hope that makes things much easier for you guys as you're moving forward with permitting here in Fairfax County. First thing that we're gonna do today is I'm gonna show you guys how to apply for a commercial plumbing permit. We are gonna apply for a couple different types of permits here, just since we are covering trades today. So first thing is we're gonna do is, because I am applying for a trade permit, which follows in the building module, I would select building, and then I would hit create an application. This page here, this disclaimer and this text, this will be present on every record that you attempt to create. You will have some information, you'll have some contact information, website information, the general disclaimer here. And once you're ready, you'll have to say that you've accepted these conditions and go ahead and continue with the application. We get to selecting a record type. So you'll have to break down where and what type of permit you're applying for. We will have record guides available online, just as we've had for Project Docs and FIDO. Those will be updated at Plus. So if you're not sure exactly which subtype your permit would fall in, you could look at that for reference. But for trades, like I said, we're going to apply for a commercial plumbing permit right now. So we're going to go ahead and click on commercial. And then you'll see that we have the types of permits available under commercial. You'll notice these are in alphabetical order. So you'll just come down to find our commercial plumbing. We'll select that. Go ahead and continue this application. The next tab here that we're going to come to is the project address. So we would go ahead and begin to type in your address. You will only put your street numbers here, and then you will put in the street name here. One thing I want to point out is you'll see that I'm not typing in the entire address. I'm going to go ahead and just hit enter there. So it works similar to FIDO. You do not have to type in the whole street name. If you choose to, that's okay. Just what I do want to caution is to make sure that you continue to not put parkway, street, drive, road in the street name. If you do that, the system won't recognize it because it's considered the street type and not part of the street name. So when in doubt, don't add that. Just go with the street numbers and the street name. If there are multiple options available to you, the system will give you that pop-up and you can select the appropriate address at that time. Come down here for trade permits. This shouldn't be necessary, but if you had a situation where we don't have a physical address, you can simply type in the location details for the address. So if for some reason it's not popping up here, but you do believe it's the accurate address, you can put that in here. If this happened to be something outside of the building, you could give us that information here as well. Tenant location details is the next slide. So this would be where we're adding those building numbers, floor numbers, and suite numbers. You will not be adding those up here. If it's part of the physical address, it will update. If it's not part of the tax recorded physical address, you'll need to put it in here. So you'd simply hit add a row. You could say that you're doing work on floor 2 in suite 216. You can submit, and that will add that right there for you. Parcel will automatically populate. You'll see when I hover over it, I can't change this. This auto fills based on whatever we put in the address field up above. I'm going to go ahead and continue my application. Next step it asks for is the applicant. So this is different than FIDO. FIDO, when you signed in, it only recognized you as the applicant. You never had to tell it again that you were the applicant. In Plus, you will have to do that. When you create an account, you'll see the steps to add yourself as a contact. And once you've done that, you can simply just hit select from account and you will automatically be the one that pops up. And you just hit continue here and you'll be successfully added. If for some reason it wasn't you and you needed to add somebody else, there was that new button. You would click there, enter that information, and you would add an additional contact on your account. So we're going to scroll down to property owner here. So we would need to go ahead and select from account, or we would add new, depending on the property owner for this particular permit type. So if we didn't know, we'd go ahead and add new. We can say organization. Go ahead and type in our information here. Anything with those red asterisks, that is something that you will need to add. Add the contact address. Continue. If there was a specific tenant that you needed to associate with this, you would go ahead and enter that information here. It'd be very similar to what we just did for the owner, but we're going to move forward with this particular plumbing permit being by owner. So we're just going to enter the owner information, and we're going to leave the tenant information blank. But as far as the steps go, we just saw that with the owner, they would be identical. We come down to owner as contractor. This is always being asked from the perspective of the owner. So are you acting as your own contractor? If the owner is, we would say yes. When we do that, you'll see that this line disappears. That is on purpose. If you say no, this continues to stay, and you have to answer this question. Most if not all of these static buttons, depending on what you answer, may add or change the next line, or it will add and change different steps in the submission process later on. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to go ahead and say that no, we're not going to select the contractor later, which means later in the application process, which we'll go over shortly, it's going to ask us for that information. If I didn't have the contractor information on me right now, or I wasn't prepared to put in the contractor at this time during the application, I could say yes, and then this will come up as a condition that I need to make sure I meet later on in the permitting process. But for this demo, we're going to go ahead and say no, and we're going to continue our application. Project information, for those of us that are familiar with FIDO, project name is a P name that was in FIDO. So again, if this was for a tenant, you could certainly put the tenant name there. If this is just for owner, you can leave it blank. Again, unless you have that red asterisk, it's not a required field, so you don't have to enter anything if it's not applicable to you. Description of project description is your description of work. So what are we applying for? What's the scope of work we're going to perform? So this one, doing plumbing for owner. The project details. So this is going to ask a series of questions. This project details screen will change depending on record types. And the answers to these questions will come up later in the submission process on how we'll continue to apply. So for this particular demo, we're going to say that there is no parent permit. You see, as soon as I say no, it wants then to clarify if this is associated to a master file in any way. So in this case, again, I'm going to say no. The estimated cost for this plumbing job. So I'm going to say that this job was $5,000. And then it's going to ask me for the estimated cost of materials. So again, this is a plumbing permit that we're going to enter the cost of the raw materials for the plumbing work. So our total Plumbing contract is 5,000. Our estimated cost of materials for the plumbing scope of work, we're gonna say those materials cost us 2,500. Structure type is the principal structure that we're performing the work in. So in this case, we're gonna go ahead and say that this is just an office building that we're working in. Type of work, so we have options depending on the scope of work that you're doing. Is this all new work? Is this gonna be repair work, replacement work, or conversion work? You'll select whichever's applicable. For us right now, we're gonna continue to say this is new work. Because this is the plumbing permit, it is gonna ask some questions about VDOT in case we were doing any groundwork. So in this case, we're gonna move forward with saying, no, we don't need a VDOT right away. We didn't have one. Also know that we're not doing any groundwork that would have required one. So then we have a couple other questions here. Whenever you see this blue question mark, it's available for help. So if you're unsure kind of what the question is asking, we can go ahead and just click those buttons and you'll be able to see. So for here, I'm gonna say no, all of these, say I'm not doing gas piping only, I'm not doing plumbing only, and I'm not installing medical gas for this particular permit type. And I will go ahead and continue my application. This page, this is where it's asking us to enter the equipment that we are performing the work. Okay. So you'll notice in all of the trade permits, and we'll, like I said, we'll go through a few more together as well. They will be separated by different categories of equipment. So this first grouping is plumbing equipment. Second group is sewer and water. This last one is fuel-fired appliances. Okay. So depending on what you're doing, you'll have to add it to the appropriate grouping. So for here, I'm going to go ahead and add a row to the plumbing equipment details. For the description, I'm going to go ahead and hit this drop down. And then we have options that are available to us to enter in. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and say that we're adding one dishwasher. Submit that. I'm going to come in and say we're adding disposal. So depending on the things that you add here will depend on whether or not additional information is needed, or if it just wants only the quantity. If you need more than one, you can enter more than one. It's not required that it has to stay as one. If we have a big office, a lot of coffee drinkers, we could go with 2. So that's how we would add those ones. Over here on actions, if you're taking a look at your list and you realize this isn't what I needed, you can delete or you can edit. You also have the ability to just check them and hit one of these buttons as well. Both options are available to you. So I'm good on my plumbing equipment. I want to add fuel-fired appliance on this one. Again, add a row. Always take a look at the description to see the available options for you here. So I'm going to say that we're adding a water heater. Submit this request. And I'm going to show the functions of the sewer water just so you guys can see the options that are available. But again, right, it breaks down because we're in sewer water. These are my available options for this particular record type. So if any of these were applicable, I would select it and put in my quantity just like we've been doing. Okay. So let's just say we add that. And then we realize, nope, okay, shouldn't have added that sewer lateral. Again, you can come over here, hit delete, and it'll go ahead and remove that right away. Once we've entered the information that we need it for this particular permit type, we'd come down, we can continue. Again, just want to point out the save and resume later button. So that has been there every screen along the way. If we get to this equipment sheet and we realize, oh, I don't have the equipment list, I need to get it, but it's going to take a day, you can save and resume later. You can pick right back up here when you do have that complete list to finish entering in all of the necessary equipment before continuing. Go ahead and continue this application. So licensed professional and people, these are being asked of us during the application submittal process because we answered at that very first screen that we were ready to add the contractor, right? So when it asked us if we needed to add the contractor later, we said no. So the system knows, okay, so we're ready to add. I want to go ahead and point out right now, big change between FIDO and Plus. There are no longer FIDO contractor ID numbers. Those have gone away. You will now need to know the contractor's complete DPOR state issued license number. And when applicable, you will need to know their 9-digit account number for their people. So it goes over quick information here about what those look like, okay? When we're ready to enter the licensed professional, we will hit look up. You have the drop down for contractor. And then we will type in the state license number. You can hit enter. It's going to autofill all the other information. You hit save and close. And then system knows that they are good to perform the work based on the permit type that we have selected. If they were not authorized to perform the work, you would have an error up top letting you know that they don't have the appropriate classification from DPOR. So this pulls directly from DPOR's website. And so if that information was not valid with DPOR, you would receive that error here as well. The BPOL information, you have these questions that are automatically populated. If you say no to having a BPOL license, you'll see that this became a required field. If I say yes, you will see that the options have changed and it automatically selected no for me as a temporary. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move forward with a BPOL number. Again, this is a 9-digit account number. It is not the license number that started with 22 or 33 before. So when you type in an account number, if you give the system just a second, it's going to change this license status to hopefully active. And that means that we entered the number correctly. If you forget to add the leading zeros, you will get a reminder, but what you'll notice is you can continue the application. In order for the system to work properly, you're going to want to make sure that you remember all of those leading zeros and that you're waiting for this to validate, to say active, prior to continuing your application. So once we know that we've entered those two pieces of information and that we're feeling good with what we entered, we'll go ahead and continue our application. You get a review step. This is present on all record types. It's one last check to look over everything you've entered and make sure that you're happy with what you've put in. Gives you one more chance to look at all of the equipment details that you've entered. So again, it breaks them down by those groupings. So you'll have a chance to look over everything that you've entered again. And if you're feeling good with everything that you've seen, you can continue your application here. Let it take just a second. And it tells you that thank you for the submission. You'll also receive an email. You'll see down here that you have your new record number. So record numbers will be what we use in Plus. They will all kind of be in this same format, depending on the type of record that you're applying for. These numbers or these letters will change. So we are doing a commercial plumbing permit. So depending on, again, what type of permit you're applying for, these alphas will change. You always have the year in the center, and then numerically the number of those permit types. So this is the new format, including those dashes, and we'll get a little more into that, but this is what you'll become more familiar with, where permit numbers will now be record numbers, and these will be the format where previously it was all numeric. For this record type, it gives us the upload plans and documents button, so we are going to need to continue forward with that. Since we said that we were doing new work and we did not associate this with any building permits. When we click this, it gives us a quick snapshot of things that we are going to be required to upload. Go ahead and hit continue here. And the requirements will still stay on this next page for us too, but now we have the ability to either drag and drop our files or browse and open up our own file folder. So I'm going to go ahead and upload my plans. What you'll see is you can upload multiple files at once. You don't have to upload them one at a time. So now I'm going to name these appropriately. So this is my plumbing plans. These are my plans. So I'm going to go ahead and call that plans. Description is not a required field. You don't have to enter anything there. And now it's asking me for my plan cover sheet. I've uploaded my plan cover sheet. I'm going to go ahead and call this my plan cover sheet. And then I will hit upload and validate. So Plus right now is looking at those files. It's just making sure that everything from a surface level seems okay, that they're not corrupt. Once that happens, we get these check marks, right? So it recognizes that we called these plans in a cover sheet, which met the requirements that we were being told we had to submit. And they've been validated. Next thing we have to do is we have to process the files. So we'll go ahead and hit process. This step may take a couple minutes. It just depends on the size of the file. What you'll notice is that my plans, right, in the background here, I uploaded one single file that said plumbing plans. What Plus is doing right now, it is looking at those plans, and it is looking if that file contained multiple sheets. If it does contain multiple sheets, it is working right now to separate all of those sheets for us. And it is zoning in on the lower right-hand corner of the plan page to see if it's been given a sheet name. If it has, the system is trying to recognize what that sheet name was so that it can name it for us. So again, depending on how many sheets you have, this process could take a little while. It's okay, you can walk away, you can come back, and once it's ready, you'll be able to continue. You don't have to keep this up and sitting here. If you want to, that's okay too. How you'll know that everything worked successfully is you will get under this status, you'll have this process and the thumbs up button, so you know that you're good to go, and you can come right over here and you can hit continue. And what we'll see here is this is showing us what Plus did and giving us the opportunity to say if it was okay or not. Right? So this was 4 sheets that were uploaded as a part of this file. Right, so I only called them plumbing plans, but it had 4 sheets in it, so Plus broke it apart. It honed in on that lower right-hand corner, and it pulled whatever it could find there to name those sheets. So Plus has done this for us. That's great. That should be, I would hope, a big savings for you guys with some, larger projects. It is still just a software though, so it could get it wrong, or maybe it's not as clear, or maybe it thinks there's a duplicate. You'll get this error up top here. It'll let you know that it thinks the 2 files are the same. Certainly take a look at them. Make sure that within your plan submission, you didn't happen to have 2 P100 pages. If so, let your designer know and get those fixed. But if that's not the case, you just come in and you can rename it. Right? So you still have an opportunity to name it, but Plus should be taking on a lot of that heavy lifting. And again, no longer needing to separate all of those files on your own to be able to upload. Plus will do that for us. So once you've reviewed it, you can go ahead and just hit continue here. Gives you one quick review again, just making sure that you think everything's good, you've uploaded the required documents. And if so, you hit the finish button. And now it tells you success, the review package has been received. So at this point in time, you as the applicant would be done. That's it. It is now with the county. What some of you may have picked up on is we were able to upload our plans without any payment being made. That is intentional. That is a business process change that is happening in Plus. The submissions will need to be reviewed prior to payment being requested. Come into record info, and I came down here to processing status. This is just another way to confirm. So application submittal. This means that the system was awaiting plans, you uploaded plans, and they're now with the county at application submittal. Application submittal in Plus is the equivalent to what was pre-screened in project docs. So this is where the technicians will be reviewing minimum submission requirements, making sure that everything looks okay. And if so, they'll send this back to you, letting you know at that time that you can make the necessary payment so that it can begin plan review. I am going to run through I'm going to run through 2 more just to give us a couple of different variations of records. I'm not going to go through as much detail as I just went through, but you'll notice that as we go through these steps, they're all going to be very familiar, okay? So I'm going to run through a commercial electrical permit. So again, commercial electrical. I'm going to continue my application. This one I am not going to upload plans for. So street address, again, just enter. Also, just a helpful hint, if you guys are using, Chrome or Edge or whatever browser you're using, some browsers naturally have this kind of autofill. Know that that's not a Plus feature, that's a browser feature. Don't use those. You still need to separate each street numbers versus street names here. So I know it can be maybe a little confusing with Fido because it did provide you that running list. Know when you see those ones here that that's a browser setting that has nothing to do with Plus. So you just want to make sure that we're not, using that thinking it's a Plus functionality. Again, I've entered my address. If I need to put in a location, I can. If I need to put in a tenant, I can. If not, I can go ahead and continue my application. In the applicant information, this is going to be necessary. And once you've created your account, it will be as simple as what I just did. You will say select from account, you will pop yourself in. Property owner, again, if you happen to be the property owner and you have one listed, you can add yourself that simple. So you could have that within your contact list. Or are you acting as your own contractor? We went through this for this particular demonstration. I'm gonna say no here as well. We're gonna continue. Then same next screen, it pops up. We can put in our description of work. Now our project details. So you notice this looks slightly different than the plumbing one. So this project details, right? You always have questions here, but they tend to be a little more customized based on the record type that you're selecting. So for this example, we are going to say that there is a parent permit. We're going to say yes here. As you can see, nothing changes now, but what that button does is it's going to require us to enter something later on. Okay. So we're still being asked for our estimated cost and the cost of our materials. So we will enter that information. The structure type, again, this is the principal structure. You'll have options available to you here. You select the appropriate one. Type of work, same scenario, just based on the permit type. So this time you have heavy up, new, repair, and replace. For this one, I'm going to say that it's still new work. And you'll have this question on electrical if it's part of an electrical vehicle charging station. If it is not, you simply just hit no. If there is one included, you would simply hit yes. Continue our application. Again, just as mentioned, when we get to the equipment details, they are broken up into these different kind of categories. So depending on the record type will depend on how many categories you have. For electrical commercial, you'll see that you have 4 available categories. So for right now, we're going to add some electrical fixtures. Simply just hit add row, just like we did before. You know that you're adding 50, and you know that you are adding fixtures. We'll put that right there. You see that these categories are not required. I don't have that asterisk, so I don't have to put anything in there. Then the row. If you're entering low voltage, we would do that separately. So again, quantity, same as FIDO, it's only asking for systems, not drops. So if we're adding 1 voice and data system, we would put quantity of 1, enter that as low voltage. I'm going to skip new residential because for this particular commercial electrical permit, I'm not entering any, but just for those that are like, why is there a new residential service listed? Think about for multifamilies, if there is a large multifamily electrical permit that's being pulled with condos on the floor, this would be an opportunity where you would add that new residential service. Service panels and generators. This section again, we'd add one. See that for this particular service, I put transfer switch, quantity of 1, and now my rating and units became required. So I'd say that this was a 100 amp transfer switch. Again, you continue through. This was a 5 horsepower generator. So you would enter the appropriate fields, you would enter the equipment that you need, and then once you're feeling good about that, you'd go ahead and continue your application. Related parent record. So earlier on, we said that yes, we did have a parent permit. So it's now asking us to provide them that information. So again, we're going to add a row. And we're going to enter a record ID. So this is going to be the record number for the building permit. So type that in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click outside of the box and I'm going to give it just a second. And what hopefully you guys all saw is that it said it is not validated. That is on purpose. I want to draw attention to this. Dashes are extremely important in Plus. You need to make sure that you use those dashes. If you do not, you will not have this validate happen and it'll cause issues later on. So make sure we wait that extra second, make sure that this says valid. If it doesn't, you're going to want to do a little bit of research to figure out why. This would be one of those appropriate times where maybe you need to close this and you save and resume later so you can look into why the number you thought was the related parent is saying that it's not valid. Right? But once you know that you have the correct one and it's valid, you would simply hit submit. And then we'll continue our application. So, got an error. So what this means is that even though it said it was valid, because it is a valid number, the system knows that the record I provided is not associated with the correct parcel and address number. So then you would simply come here and you can delete. Sort of edit, and then you need to add the appropriate record. Again, you didn't know that, right? You were caught off guard by that. You would simply just hit save and resume later. And then if I go back to my dashboard, I would have my electrical permit sitting here waiting for me. So I could do the research necessary to find the correct building permit number and then come back and resume that application to link it appropriately. The other place that you could see that is under My Records. And you would see again, it's still here, and it still lets me know that I can resume later. For here, we're going to take a look at the permit I was attempting to associate it with. And see if there were any issues with the address. You could verify right here. Could be a suite caused the issue, but if we've decided that we fixed it, we know it's okay. Again, when you resume, you can either start from the beginning if you like, or you can just pick up where you left off. And then again, we can go right into here, adding a row, and being able to combine. Gonna validate, hit submit, hit continue application. Now it successfully went through. Again, we said yes to that contractor information previously, so I'm going to go right in like we've done before. I'm going to select contractor, this scope of work. I'm going to enter in their DPOR license number. It will autofill the rest. save and close. And then let's say that this contractor does not have a Fairfax County business license and they do not have a temporary. You believe that they are exempt from a BPOL license. You would go ahead and you would be able to continue this application at that point. Which is then going to bring you to this BPOL exemption form. So you would need to fill this out for the contractor if you're applying for the permit on their behalf, and let them and fill this out appropriately if you do again believe that they are exempt. You would enter your name as the agent certifying this, and you would choose the date that you're certifying it, which would most often be the date that you're completing this step. We would continue our application. Again, we have the option to resume or to review, and if we decided that we're not ready to move forward, we could hit save and resume, but if not, we can go ahead and continue our application. And it tells us, thank you for your submission. It provides us with our new record number. It tells us that we do have a condition. So you as the applicant had stated that they are exempt from BPOL, but until the technicians confirm that based on their applied for permits and the BPOL requirements, this condition will remain and it will be removed by the text during that application submittal review. What some of you may be noticing is that we completed that. I have my record number. If I click on that and come to the record, it says that it was submitted. I can again look at that processing status. And I can see that it's at application submittal. This is a business process change. All trade permits will go through an application submittal process. They will no longer allow you to pay an auto issue. And this will take effect for all trade permits. So you will submit the information to the best of your ability. It will be sent to the technicians for a pre-screen or in plus what's being called the application submittal step. That is when we will review the information that you have provided to us. We will look at the address and make sure the associated permits are accurate, that the building permit that you've linked to the trade permit has in fact been issued. We will perform all of those checks. If everything is okay, then we will approve this and you will then be able to pay for your trade permit. Once you have paid, you will have the permit automatically. If there are any additional information that we might need during that application submittal, or perhaps we've applied for the trade permit, but the building permit has not been issued yet, we will send this back letting you know that until the building permit has been issued, you cannot submit this. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into showing you guys that step. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come to my home. I'm gonna go to my records. I'm gonna take a look at a permit that I had set up. So I have this mechanical permit right here. And I know it's mechanical 1 because it says commercial mechanical here, but also, again, all of us, industry and staff, will all get familiar with these. So commercial mechanical permit. We'll see that the status is waiting for payment. And just copy that link. So I can hit pay fees right now, but I also want to show quick functionality. I'm going to sign out. I've signed out of Plus. This search bar here gives me the ability to search for a record. I know as far as business process goes, there are plenty of times that the person that's applying for the permit may not be the person that will be submitting the payment. So that functionality that was in FIDO is still available in Plus. Again, I am not signed in. As the applicant, you can let whomever know that is responsible for payment this record number. They can simply just come to the Plus main page, put in that record number here. Don't forget to include those dashes for them. And then once here, they would come to this payments. They would hit fees. And then they would be able to scroll down and hit this pay fees link. So they get this pays fees. It gives them a quick breakdown. They will continue this application. You can pay with credit, debit, or e-check. Gives the information about the processing fees and the return check fees. This should feel very similar. It's then going to bring us to a third-party payment page. This third-party payment is the same that we've been using in FIDO. So this information should feel familiar with for anybody that has been working on these or submitting permits with Fairfax County. So we'll go ahead and enter in all of this pertinent information that is necessary. Go ahead and submit payment. It's going to take just a second for us, but we are making payments. And the way we found that, right, was we searched for that record and we saw that it said it was ready for a payment. The other way you would know is that you will receive email notifications. Email notifications in Plus are ones that we're gonna want to pay attention to. They have good information. They're not as generic as the ones that you guys may have been experiencing with Project Docs. In this case, it gives you the opportunity to go directly to the pay section here. It lets you know that the record is ready for those payments, that the fee is due, and that is your way of knowing that it is past the pre-screen review, right? It's now called application submittal, but that means the technicians have reviewed it and they've determined that everything is okay with this and it's ready for payment now. Okay, so you'll get these emails. You're going to want to pay attention to them for, there is some pertinent action items within those. So from here, we make our payment. And then what we can see is that now that we've made our payment, it still let us know that this was a situation where we had said that we were going to add a contractor later. So it still gives us this determination. That means that should mean for you guys that you know that I never gave them that contractor. So now you're going to need to send that contractor information to us for this to issue. If you had put in the contractor information during application submittal and we made that payment, this permit would have automatically issued as soon as you made that payment. Okay, so once you've made the payment and there was no outstanding conditions, this permit would automatically issue and you would immediately be able to download and look at your permit. So again, having those email notifications up and kind of paying attention to those, I think is going to be very important in Plus. You can certainly always come to your account and we'll have access to your records. But if you're waiting on one in particular, it's good to keep those emails open and move through them, okay? If we did not have any outstanding conditions, so we had said, yes, we do know our contractor, we entered in the contractor information when we applied, we would have made payment, and this would have immediately switched to issued. And once it did that, you can come directly to the record number here. You're going to come down to record info. You'll come to attachments. And this is where you would have your approved permit card available for whichever permit type you had just applied for. I'm gonna apply for one more. I'm gonna apply for a residential, again, just to show a couple features. I'm gonna apply for a residential mechanical permit. This equipment list will look different than what we've seen previously. So again, residential, mechanical, continue. Enter my address. Information will automatically fill. Questions change a little bit between commercial and residential. So am I the property owner? I say no. But is the owner information displayed accurate? I'm gonna say yes. What you'll see is that you can't make any changes to this. If the answer was no, you would say that and you'll be prompted later to change that. But if it is accurate, then you'll go ahead and just hit yes here. Continue our application. Our applicant, right? This is always going to be that next step. Go ahead and continue. Once we've added ourselves, come down and we get asked our question about the contractors. Are you acting as your own contractor? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then will a contractor be selected later? For this one, I'm going to go ahead and just say yes. We're going to continue our application. So I said yes to, we will select the contractor later. Again, project description, right? Their description of work, project name. It's not always required, but you can enter something if you'd like. Project details. So this is a residential. Again, it's still going to ask us, is there a parent permit that you want to associate this with? You can say yes, or you can say no if there's not. I'm going to treat this one as a standalone residential mechanical permit. It is asking me for the cost. I'm going to go ahead and put in estimated cost for this permit type. Structure type, again, this is always the principal structure that this is going into. So for this one, we're going to say a townhouse. Type of work, we have our options depending on the selections we've made thus far. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is new. Then we get prompted, this includes ductwork, yes or no. I'm going to say yes. Gas piping, geothermal. These ones I'm going to say no in this example, but again, pay attention to these questions and answer appropriately, and it will then prompt different things along the way in the application process, okay? Go ahead and continue this application. And then again, we have our subcategories here. Depending on what we need to add, we would add appropriately. I'm going to show us mechanical equipment details. Add So this is a difference from what we had in Fido to what we're gonna have in Plus. We're gonna enter zones. So in this case, I'm gonna have one zone, and I'm gonna be able to enter my cooling and heating equipment right here, right? So I'm gonna say that I'm entering a 7.5 ton heat pump for my cooling. And I'm gonna say I've got a gas furnace at 100 pH. So they're both available to you in the same list, and we go ahead and hit submit. So now you'll see that you already have both of those in there. If this was maybe a new townhouse and they do have 2 zones, right? Maybe the main zone was there, and then it's one of these new 4-story townhouses where they're entering a second HVAC equipment package. This is how we would do that. We'd come right in here. We'd enter all the appropriate information. We would submit, and then we would be able to have all of that listed there for us. Right? Then you can edit, you can delete from checking either of these boxes, clicking, or by the action tab over here. And again, you go through this list, and as things are appropriate and that you need to add them, you would do so. Right? You've got your list of options, and depending on which option you select, there may be more things asked of you. For this example, we're just going to move forward with these 2 zones. We're going to continue our application. And again, that review tab is always there. We're going to continue our application. And for this, so residential, we said yes to ductwork. So we do have our record number, but we also have the ability to go ahead and upload the heat loss form for review. You'll also notice again right away, because remember we said I wasn't ready to provide the contractor information at that time, that it's just letting us know that we made that decision, and so we need to know as applicants that we've got to provide that information to the county, so that when it is ready to be issued, we can have that added and be able to issue this without any concerns. If we uploaded plans, come back here to see all my records, you would be able to determine that the plans were received, so you've sent them, they're with the county, or that they've been submitted so that they're already in review. You'd also be able to see if the reviews had been completed. You would receive those email notifications. So waiting for corrections means that one of the review agencies requires additional information to be able to approve the review. So you would be able to know that. You would also have received an email notification from Plus letting you know that. So again, really important that we keep these on. You'll be able to see right away that you have what is 3 issues. So you'd be able to click on that link. And it will take you directly to the page to be able to look at those issues and be able to reply to them. Issues require response. So you'll see when we first jump in that it says open. Say I want to take a look at this one first. I would click on it. It's going to show me the page. I can go ahead and hit this little plus hourglass here, and it's going to zoom directly in to where my electrical reviewer is speaking about how I need to make this correction. Okay, so when you click on that icon, it's going to zoom you right in. You may notice other clouds, but what you'll notice is that they'll be in a muted color. Don't worry about those ones. This means that that is not the area in which this particular comment is directed towards. The one that's more in the more vibrant color, whatever color it may be, is the one that pertains to this particular comment. You will be required to enter a response. So you would update, you would save, and what you'll see is that it immediately changed to answered for us. So again, just showing on this page, it's a fire marshal comment. It's standing out in a more vibrant way. So I can see it kind of here, but if I want it, the system to automatically bring me there, I just hit this little hourglass and it zooms me right in. And what we'll see is, right, fire marshal is in red here. My cloud is vibrant and in red, but what I still have access to see in the background is I can still see that kind of light muted green to know that that was the area of the electrical reviewer previously. But I'm replying to this electrical comment, asking about panic hardware on the store. We can let them know. Answer, and again, it provides an answer. There are also conditions and notes. They're good to look at. They do not require a response, but there may be things in there to look at from reviewers. But the thing to really know is that the issues, you will not be able to move forward unless you've answered all of these. So the system will not give you the option to move forward until you have provided a response for each one of the conditions given to you. So again, you see zoomed in, this one's got 2 areas that are attached to this particular review. Provide whatever the appropriate response is. Continued. Now it's answered. Now I can go to my uploads so that I can upload the necessary sheet to fix the corrections I was given to by the reviewers. You are not required to upload every sheet again. Only the sheets that are affected should be uploaded. You would simply just hit resume and you'll go through the same prompts that we did originally. When we uploaded plans, be able to drag and drop. It'll go through the processing, it'll go through the validating, and then you'll hit finish, and it will then be submitted back to the county for review again. Last thing I want to show is I've signed out of the account. I've provided somebody with the record number to an issued permit. They can go to record info. They can go to inspections. And they'll be able to see that there's been no completed inspections, but they can schedule an inspection here. Say that they are ready for their concealment. Continue. They would find a date that's available. Click on that. They have all day available. So we would select there. We would hit continue. Contact would automatically pull up, but we can always change the contact. But if this one's good, you just hit continue. And you go ahead and hit finish here. If you want to add any comments, you can, but if not, you just simply hit finish. And then we can see that I've scheduled the concealment on the 8th, right? It's in my upcoming inspections. And once that has happened, it will be in my completed inspections down here. Again, just pointing out that I'm not signed in. So if you provide this record number, or if somebody searches this record number, this is accessible to anybody, along with this processing status report, which they can see and they can take a look at what's happened. Check marks was what was just recently completed, and that the hourglass is currently in the inspection review. That is what I had for today for the trades demo. Anybody has any questions, if you want to go ahead and put them in the chat and we can try to answer a couple of them. Not seeing any questions, so I just thank you guys. We appreciate you coming in to watch this demo. We're excited for Monday. We hope you guys are too. We're excited to get back into working alongside with all of you guys. We're excited about Plus. We appreciate you being a part of all of these trainings and demos to get a good jump start on what's needed. If you've been attending other ones, what I hope has come across is how similar all of the record types are when it comes to applying. You should have noticed that the feel is very, very similar. That stays true across all of the different modules. That was intentional. We're hoping that provides a better experience for you guys now that it's all in this one software. If you have questions along the way, know that we'll be here to help. And yeah, we look forward to talking more on Monday and in the coming future, and all getting through this fun new software together. If no one else has anything else, then I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. And again, we look forward to seeing you guys on Monday.